At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Anthony Sier, and a pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Friday night debate, the time we debate the issues that matter. Welcome and welcome to Friday night debate. I'm happy to be here hosting today, so the debate promises to be hot. If you are just joining us, please do us a favor and share the broadcast with somebody. We are debating a topic that you will like. Will more endorsements for VP Jose Boakai make the difference? 2017, we are aware he received more endorsements than any other candidate.
2017,
and yet,
he
short.
Endorsements.
Will he make it this time and get the last laugh? We know that he has started receiving endorsements already. Will that make the difference this time? It didn't work the last time. Well, maybe the second time is the charm. We will find out. Representing the Liberian people in this debate is Wale Mamba. It's good to have you. Welcome to Friday Night Debate. You are muted. Go ahead. You're good now.
Thank you, Anthony. It's always a pleasure being here.
All right. Also here and seated is the man, Jerome Gilman. He's from the Sacomoran tree. He drinks from a Sacomoran cup, and nothing is in that cup but Sacomoran juice. It's good to have you. How you doing?
Thank you very much, Mr. C, and thank you for taking all your vacation and your family time to join us here on the debate. I think Mr. Elvis Morris is he's trying to join us. Hopefully he joins because he's very passionate about Boakai and his multiple endorsement. So we will tear the endorsements apart. We will see who are those that are doing the endorsement, where they're coming from, what is their standing, and what are the political motives for endorsement. And then we'll look at endorsement as a whole. Thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you here on the Friday night debate. Let us get started here quickly with the debate. Well, endorsements this time and again for Jose Boakai, netting more endorsements so far than any other aspirant for now. And like I said earlier, in 2017, he received more. That did not pay off at the very end. You might be hearing about endorsement that he has received already compared to other aspirants. Jerome, you follow the issue as I do too. What are some of the endorsements that you know he has received so far, and how significant, in your opinion, are they?
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. In most instances, some of these things should not be making endorsed. It shouldn't be making the news. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you were doing endorsement for news organs in the United States, mm-hmm. and I endorse FOL, it shouldn't make a news because I am part of the FOL family. I am part of the media here. I am part of the staff. So if Ms. Welly, if I endorse FOL over, let's say, Spoon and the Reloaded and the closing argument, it shouldn't make news. If everybody, even 25 of us endorse FOL, it shouldn't make news. If the same 25 people endorsing the same media, so it doesn't make sense to me. But let's look at some of the members that people are going around talking about the endorsed Joseph Boakai. Let's look at my own senator from Grand Bassa County, Nyobli Kanga. Senator Nyobli Kanga is a member of the CPP. He is a member of the Liberty Party. She's a member of the opposition. So when she endorses Joseph Boakai, it shouldn't make news. A member of the organization endorsing that member it shouldn't make news. It will make news if, let's say, the finance minister to it from the ruling class or the ruling party leaves and endorses someone from the other side of the divide. That should make news because that's significant. But a sedition endorsing a sedition shouldn't make news at all. So I don't see Joseph Boakai could have 50 endorsements from the same political party. It makes no difference. It's like those who are transporting people from one block to the next. You are not increasing your base. You have 25 people. You took them from Bassa. You took them to Riverside. You have a party. You took the same 25. You took them to a party. It doesn't make any difference. So the endorsement are just what it is.
Jerome, are you suggesting that endorsement don't matter or they don't influence, they don't move anything in ones who gets the endorsement direction in any shape and form? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they got endorsements and they have endorsements. Mm-hmm. An endorsement from within. In the science they call it ancestral sex. This is why they say people will tell you that if the crime incest is a crime because it's happening within the family.
You are going off topic. Let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama is a heavyweight in the Democratic Party. If a Democratic candidate is on the ballot, are you saying an endorsement from Barack Obama has no value because he's with the party? Is that what I'm hearing?
If Barack Obama endorses another candidate within the Democratic primary, mm-hmm. it does not carry that much weight as it would have.
And this time we are not talking primary, we are talking about presidential tickets.
Oh, yeah, but this is what I'm saying. If we had the Democrats and the Republican here, and Barack Obama endorses Joe Biden, it makes no difference because they are from the same stock. But if Obama endorses Trump, that should be a major news because we are seeing something that they call an original crossover.
So, Jerome, using the Obama scenario here, he is a guy that most of the millennials follow because a good number of them, he brought them to the electoral process. Some of them participated for the first time. So when they hear him speak, they come out. So it adds something to the Democratic Party ticket. All right. So it matters. But you are trying to kind of say, no, not at all.
No, it has some, but not significantly because he also endorsed Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton lost to the Republican Party. So what I'm saying here is it is what it is, especially when we have a roadmap in Liberia where Boakai received 22 of the 30 endorsements out of the Senate the last time around. Someone that received 22 out of 30, that's almost 78% of the Senate votes endorsement, and he went down 14-1. So in Liberia, what I'm saying here is endorsement from within makes no difference. It shouldn't even make the news.
Thank you. Evan Morris, we want to say welcome to the debate. I'll get back to you. Endorsements in Liberia, you have followed Liberian politics. You think these endorsements that the candidates get in Liberia matter at all, especially ones coming from senators who are representing counties, endorsing them, and then going to, make some rounds for them in their respective counties? You think those things actually move things in the direction of the one who receives that kind of endorsement?
Why not? If a senator endorses a presidential candidate, I think that's a news, regardless of them coming from within or without. Mm-hmm. People got followers. There are other senators that have more crowd than even the presidential candidate. So if such a president endorses Joe Boakai, they have the power to go and speak to other people. They got their bases that they're going to talk to. And those very people will go and talk to other people to encourage them to vote for him. So endorsing Joseph Boakai, I don't think it is something we can downplay and say, well, those people are from within, so it doesn't carry weight. It depends on who the person is, who's doing the endorsing. So we'll not overlook anything. For me, I think every little bit helps because these people come from different backgrounds and they got different followers that could make a very significant impact in shifting the votes that people will be expecting in October.
All right. And so you are saying that, say, Nyomli Kanga from Grand Bassa County, she has endorsed Joseph Boakai, and now she's under obligation to talk to the people of Grand Bassa to follow her. Is that enough to bring some votes to Joseph Boakai because of that endorsement?
Yes, very well, because Nyomli, she is a leader. She's been, leader for her party. There are people that believe in her. She's a heavyweight to most people. Other people might downplay that, but she has her own base. There are people in her county, it might not be everybody, but there are people, no matter what, that will do anything for her. Whatever she tells them, they will follow. So if she tilts towards Joe Boakai, there's a high possibility she's going to bring a lot of people on board with her. So going to Grand Bassa, she's going to go talk to the people and convince them why they should vote for Joseph Boakai. So we can rest assured that her endorsement will pay off. And that's why Joseph Boakai, I'm sure he's smiling to himself with all the endorsements he's getting.
All right. So the last time he received more endorsements based on the records in our possession, now he's beginning to receive more again. It didn't work that time. Why will endorsement make the difference this time?
Times have changed. So, at the time, 2017, most of the young people, I know some of them are still obsessed with President Weah, but you might not get the same number of people that were following, candidate Weah at the time. So most of the young people at that time, you couldn't tell them anything. But they have worked with President Weah, and some of them are still happy, some of them are disappointed. And so the time Joe Boakai received all the endorsement and nothing, really paid off, that time is different from this time. Okay. So President Weah has already served. People know his weaknesses and his successes. Other people have made up their mind not to vote for him. Some other people will vote for him. And those who made up their mind not to vote for him, with the endorsement coming, it will be a safer platform for them to, even though they've already been convinced that they will be voting, against him, but by Nyomli endorsing Boakai will facilitate even more their decisions to come forward and join Joseph Boakai. So because of the different times and different realities, we can be hopeful that this time around is going to pay off.
Thank you. Later on, we'll look at some of the endorsement you receive in specific counties so that we can get the juice out of the discussion. Evan Morris, we want to welcome you again to the debate. My first question to you, do endorsements matter in electoral politics?
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the show tonight, Mr. Sia and Mr. Gayman, and to Manwele. I would say this, there's a saying in politics, vote has no what's the thing? No value per se. Like there's no difference in the value of votes that educated or PhD holder places than a market woman. All votes are equal, so to speak. So in Liberian politics, I think where endorsement matter is from whom that endorsement is coming from. And if we understand our societal structure, the most important endorsement in my mind is the traditional endorsement. And the reason I say this is because there are people who are living, quote unquote, in the interior who are not very versed in the happenings of politics and what President Weah is doing, what he's not doing, what the legislatures are doing, and what they're not doing. But the chiefs, the quote unquote Zoes, and those who have traditional authority, they can tell a whole town or a whole village of 20,000 people, this is the person we're carrying. And almost in that entire village will vote for that person. That vote count as much as, the professor in Montserrado, or the teacher or the school teacher or the businessman. Each vote counts the same. So when you look at somebody like my own kinsman, Alice Chessier Grant from Grand Gillette County, he had been exposed within the CDC as being somebody who doesn't have the educational, requirements, and he lied on his resume and things like that. So his stock in the county is on a downward trend. If CDC got if United Party got an endorsement from somebody like George Bullitt, who in Cornerville District was the first PhD holder from that area, fought the war, I disagree with him and the things that he did during the war, but he has a lot more influence in that county, relative to somebody like Alice Chessier Grant. So endorsement matter when it comes from, powerful people who have had long-standing support and can have, a number of people, a good number of people who support them in successive elections. That's why you see Prince Johnson endorsement is very important. It's very important. So it matters if it comes from somebody of high significance. And it even matters more if, like Mr. Gilman said, if that person is on the other side of the spectrum in terms of politics. It would be a earthquake in the political scene in America if you have a former Republican president supporting a Democratic, candidate for president. That would be something that would be monumental. So if you have somebody like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who did a monumental shift in the election of 2017 by technically, or so to speak, endorsing George Weah, that shifted the election in a big way. So you're going to see some carpet crossing for some people who are disillusioned in the CDC. And Alex Chessier Grant is somebody who had been under some duress based on his educational, some falsification of his educational qualification. And again, he's not a major lawmaker. He's not a senator. He doesn't come from an area that is heavily populated where people are flocking towards him, and he has some long-standing influence in the county. So I think his endorsement is not the same as a Yombi Kanga. And the last thing I would say, endorsing a person is one thing, but actually governizing your supporters, robustly governizing them and really inspiring them to vote for that person is the harder part. Just saying I endorse this person is one thing. People may say, oh yeah, our leader support that person. But if that leader goes to those people and really vigorously campaign for that leader or for that candidate, that's a whole nother thing. So people just saying they support Boakai or they support Weah, but they don't do anything in terms of their actions to really try to garner vote for that candidate, then the endorsement would be lackluster. I'll leave it there.
Yes. Also, Mr. Morris, my next question to you is, can an endorsement cause harm for a candidate depending on from whom it comes?
Of course, Mr. C, and I think we all know the answer to that question. And the prime example is, of course, Prince Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a double-edged sword. You have a polarizing figure like Prince Johnson, who on one side of the spectrum, you have people who love him, who see him as a hero. Mm-hmm. And on the other side of the quote-unquote political spectrum, you see people who see him as a war criminal, as a murderer. So you will have automatic, it will almost be like a diametric, opposition to Prince Johnson. You have one people on the far side of the spectrum and another on the other side of the spectrum who love him. So as much votes as you think you're gaining, you're going to almost have equally as much people who will be detracting from him, because people from certain region of the country who see him as a murderer and murder their people, and then of course certain people from another region of the country see him as a hero. So it's a polarizing endorsement coming from somebody like Prince Johnson, so it can hurt you, especially if it's somebody who you think you're going to get a lot of people who are already going to vote for him, but because he's so divisive other people will definitely not vote for you simply because he's endorsed you. So that could be a problem. I don't know if we have any other person who will have such a visceral reaction when they endorse you, such as Prince Johnson. I can't think about anybody else. Maybe Ellen Johnson's a leave, but I don't even think people dislike her as much as those who dislike Prince Johnson with a passion. So for Prince Johnson to support you, it's a blessing, it's a curse at the same time, so to speak.
Well, we'll get to more on that. That will form, a greater part of the discussion. The individuals that are big names politically in Liberia, like Prince Johnson, who endorsed Joseph Boakai already. Mr. Gaiman, let me come back to you. Earlier, you said, well, when the endorsement is within, it doesn't carry any weight. It doesn't move the needle. Paraphrasing you yet. So I'm sure Jefferson Koji is going to endorse President Weah. I can even say he has endorsed him already. He's supporting him. So he will go to Lofa to talk to the people of Lofa. Are you saying because Jefferson Koji has been with CDC, so whatever he says in, Lofa, no one going to listen to him because he's been where we are anyway? The same can be said about Mamba Molo. The same can be said about Carlos Gray and all the big names in CDC who will be coming forward for President Weah with their endorsement and campaign. These things shouldn't move anything, right? Because that's all I heard from you. Please, where you stand? You are muted, sir.
To some degree, you are right.
Mm-hmm.
As the incumbent, like Mr. Murray just said,
mm-hmm.
if you from FOIA and you endorse the president, you don't add anything to it. What you add to it, if you went back to FOIA to rail all the base, to solidify the base, to build the momentum and get them to the poll to vote,
mm-hmm.
that's when it counts. Like in the state of Florida, we have the Democrats are always outnumber us, the Republicans. But when you look at who goes to the poll to vote, more Republicans vote than Democrats, even though they have the numbers. So this is what we are talking about. It is who have the power, the influence, the momentum, and the ability to get their base riled up to get that momentum to the poll. You can praise me all you want. And you've been seeing that in the CPP, in the ANC. When you go on Facebook, when you go on social media, they dominate everything. But when you go on the ground, their presence is not felt. The reason being, you can endorse me all you want in the United States. You better be on the ground in Gaiman Town, in Lac, in Mano River, in Congo. You better have the boots on the ground that will be informing the people, getting them ready to go to the polls. So anything other than that, it will not work. So Jefferson Koji, everybody expects Jefferson Koji to support the president, endorse the president. Those who support him were going to support the president anyway, with or without his vote. But what is going to make the difference would be his ability now to go back to Lofa and get the Lofa all excited about voting and going to the poll. And mind you, if he didn't do that during the voter registration period, he can do all he wants to do. It means nothing when those people were never registered to vote. They didn't have the ability to vote, and they won't vote. So you can have 10,000 people show up to cheer you on if they don't have their voting cards. I think it was last month sometimes under the Sycamore tree where they had over 10,000 people and the guy stopped the program. He says, you don't belong here. You have to show your voter registration card. You cannot be part of the revolution if you don't have your voter registration card. Show your voter registration card. And everybody started going in and pulling out. At least they are not saying whether you're going to vote for us, but you got to be registered to vote. And the majority of the people that had their voter registration card, that's what we are talking about. You can endorse all you want. If your men and women they are not vigorously campaigning, or if they didn't register during the voter registration period, you can do all you want to do. It will not happen. All you're going to say like, well, look, we have all the people in the street and nobody voted for us. They cheated. That's what I'm seeing here.
You make a fine point there, and I couldn't agree with you more. I started watching American politics during the Obama time, and I follow him a lot. And he said this thing called democracy is not a spectator sport. And whenever he was campaigning, when the people tried to boo, he would say, no, don't boo, vote. And that was after he had endorsed a Democratic candidate and will go out to campaign for them. So you have a point there. The endorsement is something, but it's not enough. You have to get to the people. You want to vote for that candidate to talk to them to make it happen. Let's look at some counties specifically and some endorsements that we heard so far. Let's start with Grand Bassa County. In Grand Bassa County, Western Garfield has endorsed the fixer ticket, that is Cummings. And then Yombly Kanka Lawrence has endorsed Joseph Boakai. And I will consider Charlene being on the ticket and now talking for Cummings. I will consider that also as an endorsement. So looking at those three prominent Bassa citizens and politicians who put their weight beyond these people, how will it play out? This kind of endorsement, I know for sure they're going to campaign for them as well. Who's going to benefit more looking at who the endorsement coming from and which endorsement, if possible, will hurt any of the person who received the endorsement? Let's start with you, say Wale, on that.
Well, I think everybody has a follower.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Finley has his own people,
mm-hmm.
and Charlene has her own people.
Mm-hmm.
Yombly Kaka Lawrence has her own people. It's kind of tricky.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a follower that does not agree. It doesn't mean that when you endorse somebody, that means everybody that follows you will go with such a person.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work like that. Some people will be like, no, even though I love this woman, but I'm not going to follow whoever she wants me to vote for. Okay. So I think it depends on the time they put into campaign. It depends on the kind of time they put into explain to their followers why they should vote for certain people. And so if you believe in somebody, you will have a lot to say. So for instance, if you have Yombly Kaka Lawrence going back to her base and telling them why they should vote for Joseph Boakai and convince the people, I think you're going to get significant amount of followers to vote for him. It might not be everybody, because some people, you can't get them if their minds are not made up. So
and
the same thing goes with Charlene. I mean, she might have her own people, but all in all, people who never follow you depends on how you talk to them and convincing them why they should follow you, especially when you were their leader and trying to support another person. So it depends. It's gonna greatly depend on Senator Lawrence, how she play her ball.
So let's look at it this way. So you have Western Garfield, who was with CDC, is now supporting Cummings over the CDC. All right. And Cummings has the backing of, if possible, let's say half of the Liberty Party. The Liberty Party, the Bassa people have some, immersed ownership of it. So where you think they are more likely to go more, who they are more likely to listen to, Wesonga and Charlene or Yombly? Because the thing we hear is that, well, Yombly might have betrayed Bronsky here in his grave, because Bronsky would never support Boakai, and she is doing completely the opposite of what Bronsky would like to see. Who you think the Bassa people, and looking at what also happened to her, I think the Bassa people might have pitied her when she was not chosen. So for her to be telling them, let's follow this man who denied us a representation at that level, would they listen to her less and listen to Charlene more or Besanga more? And why?
Well, I think she's been with them for a long time as senator, and they can trust her, because of the time she's been around and what she has delivered to the people. So their decisions are going to be based on who they know more. I know Charlie being there for them and Finley being there, but as senator, Yomlikaga Lauren had played a most important role with the Bassa people, representing them all the years.
Don't you think the Bassa people want to produce a vice president for the country other than just producing a president who is not from their county? Wouldn't they want to
Well,
produce
but everything is 50-50. Okay? So you are not sure whether the other ticket that going for the presidency will win. We are not sure.
Even if Boakai wins, right? Boakai is not somebody from Bassa. Maybe they want somebody from Bassa. That's how it is, isn't it?
Well, I don't think the Bassa people are, I mean, I don't want to say tribalistic to the extent.
No, it's nothing tribalistic. They want to have some ownership. They want to be at the table and have a lions or cheer at the table, if we can put it that way.
Well, you can be at the table without the presidency. They will be looking for who can do the work. I think if they trust the judgment of Yambikanga Lawrence, they will follow her wherever she's going. So, like I said, depends on how she talks to them. But it's not going to be based on necessarily that they want the lion hair. Okay. I think we're looking for qualified people who will better deliver Liberia. And if the Bassa people are looking at issues that are being discussed in the Liberian media, and who a presidential candidate, what they're looking for in such a person, and you talk to them, they might be convinced to follow her. But I don't think they're going to be making decisions.
The history of the Bassa people voting in a presidential election, at least when we had Bronskin won majority of the votes, from Grand Bassa County, as far as we know. Now, we have a Bronskin on one of the presidential tickets. Why you think they will not do the same thing?
I mean, they could, but, we are not certain that what's going to happen. Okay. There's a high possibility they could, but, it doesn't mean they will.
All right. So, Mr. Morris, let me come to you. You saw the variables I placed on the table there. Basonga, supporting now Cummings. He was with the CDC. He said, no, CDC is not good enough. Cummings is good enough. And Charlene is there. But Yombly is saying, no, we're going with Old Man Joe. That is not something the Bassa people will do. They will more likely go for somebody from their county who is on the presidential ballot. At least that's what they've done so far. How you think it will play out?
Yes, thank you, Mr. C. For my rudimentary analysis, I think the Bassa vote matters most in the second round.
Okay.
Take somebody, let's profile Milton Finley first. You would like to go by Boakai now, but before he used to go by Milton, his queen name, so to say. For disclosure, I'm a Bassa man on my mother's side. She's a Bassa woman, grew up in her house, in a Bassa household for the most part of my young life coming up in Liberia. But, Milton Finley or Boakai Finley was a man who was important in the CDC government. He pretty much was like the third most powerful person in the government from the inception of the government. He was the foreign minister. That's a big, big position, as we know, in our country. And because of his political ambition, he wanted to run for the Senate, the Senate seat in Grand Bassa against Jumbly, and he had to resign his post. And unfortunately for him, he lost that seat. And he was anchoring for another position within the government and could never find himself back in the good graces of President Weah. So he was left on the outside looking in. So he became disillusioned. And I'm only setting this this premise because I want to get to a bigger point. Now, if you're looking at the second round, that's why I say this election will be about second choices, not necessarily first choices. The reason I say that is because in Bassa, let's say the Bassa people vote overwhelmingly for Charlene Bromsky and Alice Cummings because she's, Charlene is the vice presidential pick. But that won't propel them to the second round. Let's say they win Bassa with 60% of the vote. And they perform dismally in other counties and, they don't reach to the second round. Who are the Bassa people's second choice? So their first choice will be, Charlene Bromsky. Yeah, we like her. She's the vice presidential ticket. Is their second choice Joseph Boakai after Charlene Bromsky? Or is it George Weah? And that's the point that I'm trying to make. So take a person that Boakai Finley who has some affiliation or some affinity for the CDC. In the second round, where it's a binary choice, it's either Boakai or President Weah. Who is somebody like Boyton got feeling more likely going to put his support behind? George Boakai or George Weah?
But the thing is,
He's not,
he was with the Unity Party before, so he will have two choices before him that he affiliated with in the past.
and that's the point that I'm making. The point I'm making is George Weah is there now. Bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I have the presidency, although we are election, but I can offer you another position in my government for your endorsement. I've did it before. I gave you a high profile position. I can do it again. I need your support. Don't forget, George Weah also have Bassa on his mother's side, though I think his mother is from Riverside, I think. But he's still a Bassa man, and he's still vying for the presidency. So second round matters most because George Weah can then cultivate with offering position, whether it's money is changing hands. He will have a lot more leverage in the second round because somebody like Cummings and Brumskin will be out of the picture. And most ANC people, with all the nonsense that Unity Party is doing right now with the ANC or the CPP, they're hurting themselves because most of these people are former seditionists. They still have some soft spot in their heart for CDC. So if Cummings is not there, most of them with all the bad blood that's going on will be likely to run back to the CDC and say, you know what, we will vote against Joe Boakai. Not necessarily voting for George Weah, but voting against Joe Boakai. So politics is a long game. You have to play the long game. You can't only look at what's in front of you. You got to look at what's ahead of you. So what the Unity Party is doing, just vigorously going after the CPP, I think that would be a mistake, especially in the second round, where both the CDC and UP are likely to be there. So in Bassa, Yomli Kanga endorsement is important, but the Bassa people vote is something that I think a lot of people underestimate or overlook. They tend to overlook because the Bassa people make up almost 20% of our population, relative to that of Nimba County, where you have two major tribes within one county, which I think is an anomaly for most counties, except maybe Lofa County. Most counties in our country is dominated by a single tribe. So you have, Nimba County, where you have about 8% of the national population. It's the Don people, what we call the Gil people. Another, 7.8% is the Mon people. So you have two tribes that make up about 16% of the population of our country in total. You look at the entire Bassa, ethnic group make up about 20%. So the entire Bassa population is more than that of the two tribes in Nimba County. So for Boakai to think that picking Jeremiah Kuhn will give him more votes rather than picking a Bassa person where you have more of the population in the country who's Bassa, didn't make sense to me. So although Yomli Kanga is not a national Bassa leader where she can go to, River G and talk to the Bassa people there, go to Lee in Nimba County and talk to those other Bassa people, come to Monrovia, most of her influence is in Grand Bassa and some in Monrovia. But she's not a national leader who can command the respect of all Bassa people, speaking people from all over the country. So that may hurt Boakai in other places outside of Grand Bassa, since Yomli is endorsing him. So I will leave it there and I'll pass the mic.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, this is your county we're talking about. You know your people. You know how they voted. I know you want to lecture me about President Weah being strong there. How you think you're going to play out with these political actors in the county who are taking their sides already? Who were the people of Bassa listening to? We were listening to Nyomli more, Finlay and Charlene on one hand more, or they will come to the guy you call King George.
Well, thank you very much. The Bassa politics, for those of us on the ground, we like to dissect the politics. Nyomli Kanga, most of the Bassa people that are members of the Liberty Party are very upset with her because they believe she brought this calamity on them by bringing Musa Belete into the party. And when her political life was on the line, she went and negotiated with Mr. Belete, making him the party chairperson and giving him total power to rewrite the Constitution. And because she was so busy with her own campaign and wanted the resources, she allowed Musa Belete to write her out of the Constitution, which she acquiesced to. And the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed that and reaffirmed that she was written out of the Constitution, basically, and she tried to do the legal means, and the Liberian Supreme Court said that Musa Ability has all the legal rights. And today, what the Bassa people consider Bosede, which is an inheritance that Bronskin brought or left with them, she has squandered that. And today, you have the likes of Musa Ability with a legal authority in Liberia to say, you are prohibited from using our name, our likeness, our logo, and anything corporate. And the Bassa people are upset and strongly disappointed. So the few folks that remain in the Unity Party are also mad with Nyobli Kanga, because now the Liberty Party that belong to Bassa, when you go to Ablija TV in the morning on the Doma show and you listen to the venom in the folks, some will tell you our party that was a Bassa party have been taken from Grand Bassa County to basically now it is housed in Nimba and Montserrado, where Musa Ability hails from. Then when you look at the Bassa politics geographically, there are 3 different districts that are heavily populated and influence the Bassa vote. That district number 3, that Bicano district. And the gentleman who is the representative for the Bicano district is a seditious, the more popular politician in Bassa, Matthew Joe. He was the guy that Charlene was running against with all the money she had that were pumped into it, her own internal polling. And the polling showed that she couldn't beat this guy. And she did the smartest thing by leaving that race and going to run for vice president. The second most popular district is district number 4, electoral district number 4. And a young man by the name of Vincent Willett, very popular, charismatic. If you saw the president at the UN, after that UN visit, when they had a town hall meeting, the young man that sat directly to the right-hand side of President Weah is Vincent Willett. Very young, very progressive, very popular. He controlled the whole Lac Belt. Very, very popular. And then you go to district number 2, that is controlled by Mary Kawa, Chief Zansan Kawa's wife. Very popular. Been there 2 terms. She's going to be elected for the 3rd term. Very, very popular. Those are the most popular districts in Bassa, and they are controlled and being supported by CDC. So when you are looking at the districts, we are looking at district number 1, where Mr. Bachu is. Bachu and Finley comes from the same district, but they are both at local heads. So we are saying, all things being equal, they are going to split the number 1 vote. Somebody is going to endorse President Weah, and somebody is going to endorse ANC. At the end, they are going to come back and they're going to endorse President Weah. And don't forget, somebody said Weah has a stronghold in Grand Bassa County. Like the people were saying, Lofa is trying to have a president on the ticket. Bassa already has a president. We can claim our son. His mother is a Bassa woman that didn't speak a word of English. He lived in the place. He grew up there partially, even though he was born in Nimba. So we claim him. So yes, it's a win-win for us, the Bassa people. But like this young man said, it's a double-edged sword. If you were endorsed by Nyobli Kanga, Nyobli Kanga's beef with Musa Ability has rubbed a lot of Bassa people the wrong way. As of today, the Liberty Party cannot be considered a Bassa party anymore because the power is inherent in the hands of Musa Ability.
Thank you. Now that would take us to Nimba County, where Prince Johnson, we know, has endorsed Joseph Yaman Boakai, and he has been talking, tough and taking the fight to the other side, specifically been taking the fight to the CDC and the coming side, and in favor of the Boakai side. what's his name? Prince Johnson has always delivered. Nimba County, he did it twice for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the second round. He did it once for George Weah in the second round as well. And he is with Boakai. I know we have Tiawon Gonglo who has endorsed himself, and he has people supporting him there. So looking at the variables in Nimba, the Prince Johnson factor, the Tiawon Gonglo factor, who stands a better chance here? And then we have Montserrado, who is supporting Mr. Cummings. He's running in the county as well. And we have the Mandigno Edit group that is very loyal to a kinsman, just as any other group of people in Liberia loyal to their kinsmen. So if you look at that, and then if you look at the investment, I understand that the Cummings side, has started already in Nimba County through Musa Bedete and Cummings himself. And you have Moriah Yakula, I understand, who is from Nimba, if I'm not mistaken. So these people are heavily, will be fighting for votes in Nimba County. How will it play out? Will Boakai get the most votes because he has what you call Prince Johnson? Just as Ellen got the most votes, we have got the most votes when they had a Prince Johnson on their side, or with Tiawon undercut that, and Cummings might get some votes. How will it play out, Evers?
Well, I think the simple answer is to look at it from the surface and looking at the history as well. I have some lineage to Nimba County. My in-laws are from Nimba. I have people in Ganta who I speak to regularly. No doubt, Prince Johnson is influential in Nimba County, definitely. But you have to look at the demographic of Nimba County, because some people see 300,000 votes and they think Prince Johnson have command of those 300,000 votes or registered voters. It's not the case. In Nimba County, you have sections of that county that is, there with different ethnic groups. Like I said, in the south, in the northeastern part of the county, you have the Crown people up there, bordering in Babli district. Of course, you got the Ma and the Dan, who are the significant, ethnic group within the county. They're not homogeneous in their outlook politically. The Ma people think that Prince Johnson or Dan man tends to, overshadow their aspirations within the county. So there's some separation there, against Prince Johnson. Now you look at Gonglo, who is a Ma man, so to speak, a Mano man, and he's vying for the presidency. As we all will agree, he's a fine candidate, a fine Liberian, a good man, advocate, and he's done a lot of good things. Smart guy. So I think people will vote for their son. They will say, you know what? If Prince Johnson was the one on the ballot and we had nobody else from Nimba County, or Prince Johnson was the one telling us to vote for somebody and we had nobody else there, definitely we will vote for him. Because of what he did during the war, this and that. People will rationalize voting where Prince Johnson tell them to vote. But here you have Tiawon Gonglo, which is from an ethnic group that makes up about half the population of Nimba County. They won't look at a fine son like Gonglo, who has served them well, who has made them proud, and go behind Prince Johnson, who is going for Boakai, who is somebody who is, quote unquote, not from their county. So I think Tiawon Gonglo will win Nimba County in the first round. But again, most of these candidates who have strong bases in just one county, you can't say that they're going to go to the second round. So that's why first round, I just look at it as a wash, because I think Gonglo will win first round in Nimba. Somebody like Cummings may win first round in Bassa, but then again, they may not have the numbers in other areas to propel them to the second round. So that's when the second round comes into play. And that's why I think somebody like Gonglo Endorsement would be massive in the second round in Nimba County. Because you go to the second round and Gonglo may not, have enough votes after even if he wins Nimba to go to the second round. So now, is he going to support President Weah? Highly unlikely. Is he going to support somebody like Joe Boakai? More plausible. So that's where I think Nimba County will be even more dangerous for President Weah in the second round, because if you have Prince Johnson, if he sticks to Boakai in the second round, and then on top of that you have Gonglo, if he supports Joe Boakai in the second round as well, that could spell disaster for President Weah in Nimba County. But first round, I see Gonglo taking it. Second round, that's when the battle begins. And it seemed like Gonglo is absolutely, resolute on not supporting President Weah. And he's not a man who you can bribe with money or position. So I think his principle in that manner, and thereby maybe he would be looking at Joe Boycott rather than President Weah. So that's where I think it comes down to. Endorsement for Gonglo in the second round will be key because I think Prince Johnson will take about 20 or 30% of the population. Maybe Gonglo will take another, 20 or 30%, and some independents who are maybe the Krupp speaking people or the Bassa speaking people from Nimba may put their weight behind Gonglo just to get him over the edge in that first round. But the second round, he will still have a large constituents who are voting who are willing to go where he goes, especially the Mon people. And I think that would spell disaster if he goes for boycott against President Weah. I will leave it there.
Yeah, before you go, I mentioned Musa Belete. He's an influential son of Nimba. I understand he has investment there. Politically, he's active. In fact, he's running. So wherever he goes, he mentioned the name Cummings, and he has people there, the Mandingo speaking people, they might listen to him. I know that Cummings may not be able to win, but you cannot just dismiss Musa's presence and what he can do to help Cummings get some significant vote from the Mandingo ethnic group specifically.
Good point, Mr. Sear.
Mm-hmm.
But politics is about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And relative to the population in Nimba County, the Mandingo people make up a small minority of that population.
Okay.
So Musa Belete is also from the Ma ethnic group on his mother's side.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also a Ma man. And again, he's not on the ballot. So those who would have been sympathetic to Musa Belete would already be going for.
He is on the ballot.
Well, not for the presidency, for representative, right? So you can vote for both representative and president in the same election. So those people who will vote for Musa Belete personally for him to be a representative may also vote for Gonglo. Those of the Ma ethnic group may also vote for Gonglo for the presidency, and likewise may not vote for Cummings, but will give ability their vote for the House of for the House of Representatives. So the point that I'm making is, if you're looking at Musa Belete on the ballot as president, maybe you say he would gain a lot of sympathy from the Ma people and the Mandingo people in Nimba County, and that would give him some significant number in the county. But he's not on the ballot, and most people of the Ma ethnic group has one of their own sons who's vying for the presidency. So the Mandingo group, vote there is maybe you're looking at 5 or 6% of the population in Nimba. Not significant to change, the outcome in Nimba for Cummings if you're looking at ability in terms of his influence. So I don't think it will even really matter. In the second round, again, if Musa Belete goes to join JMB, that's when endorsement matters. Because if you have Gonglo going for JMB in the second round, Prince Johnson, Musa Belete, then it's almost impossible for Weah to win a significant minority even in Nimba County to remain competitive in other counties. So that, and again, I'm a Weah supporter, but I'm being realistic and objective in my analysis on the show tonight. So that's all I have to say, Mr. C.
Thank you, Alice. We're talking Nimba.
Well, although Tiawan Gonglo is a good man, and there's high possibility that the Ma people want their son to be president, we cannot also ignore the fact that Prince Johnson, over the years, has been looked at in Nimba as a redeemer. He has so many investments across the line that can make him to win over both Ma and the Dan people. So, because Prince Johnson, I know my brother mentioned that Prince Johnson is a double-edged sword. But when you look at history, Prince Johnson has been winning Nimba consistently. They trust him. They trust his judgment. And so they always listen to him. So I think in Nimba, what will happen basically would be Joseph Boakai in the first round coming forward to win Nimba. And then Tiawan Ganklo in a second round will do better. But if they all come together, Tiawan, for example, if he doesn't have the votes required to put him at the top, he can combine, collaborate with and they will do better. But to dismiss Prince Johnson, who have been making all these strides, now look at his church. The man has been, even let go on the negative, he being a rebel leader. He still has some of the boys that fought for him, still believing in him. And they are all qualified to vote. So we're not going to say, he's a negative. No, he's not a negative. So he's still going to produce people. They might be.
You are saying in terms of the local politics in Nimba, he's not a negative. He's a positive.
He's not a negative. He's a positive there. Because
and in fact, he's a net plus with Kuhn being with him.
With Kuhn being with him, Prince Johnson in Nimba, he's not a negative force. They look at him as a redeemer. So you might think that he's a negative force. Other people might look at him like the hero. And these are the people that are going to deliver the votes. And he has a university there. That's development, imparting knowledge to the common people, the students. So some of the students would be like, well, this university is the best university in the county. So if we listen to this man, maybe because of him, GNB will do something great in the county. So we're not going to dismiss Prince Johnson. He is a force to contend with. And wherever he gave his vote, he gave his support, we cannot underestimate that people will shy away from following him. They will still follow him in spite of having Councillor Ganklo, who also has a greater chance. But because Prince Johnson has been there, they're still going to listen to him.
Mr. Gaiman, the Prince Johnson factor and influence in Nimba is something we cannot dismiss. 3 separate presidential elections, he delivered for whoever he supported. It is more than likely now that he has gotten some help from Kuhn. Kuhn won 3 separate elections in Nimba. He has businesses to his name. I heard from somebody that at some point he was giving loans to residents or citizens of Nimba County. He has a hospital. He has helped a lot of people. So these are 2 political giants who have come together and supporting Joseph Boakai. So Joseph Boakai is not only getting Prince Johnson, who has been enough to deliver a presidential victory. Boakai got some help now. Is it a done deal here in Nimba and Boakai should be smiling or not too much?
Oh, absolutely not. President Weir is going to win Nimba.
Oh my God!
And let me tell you why.
This man is ready for the debate. Go ahead.
Yes. When the elders of Nimba came together, they told you why they were not going to encourage voting for Prince Johnson as they did prior. One, let's look at the sanction, the U.S. sanction on Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson was sanctioned and disgraced. In fact, it was the Unity Party people who wrote a lengthy op-ed piece warning the George Weah government to stay away from Prince Johnson because he was sanctioned. They also did the same thing with Nathaniel McGill and Bill Tuawe, that people who are sanctioned should not be dealt with. In fact, Mr. Snow said, because of the sanction, the gravity of the sanction, he said, I have not been able to call my own good friend McGill. So the sanction is a major piece, and the United States government said this man is not worth it of being in the Senate and definitely serving on the Intelligence Committee. And if that happens, we are not going to deal with Liberia. We are not dealing with Prince Johnson. That is
And you think the voters in Nimba care about that?
Yes.
But Prince Johnson is not on the ballot.
Excuse me. We cannot say Prince Johnson is not on the ballot when Prince Johnson has now inserted himself into this campaign. He is basically now the spokesperson of this campaign for Joseph Boakai. And he said, I selected my son, my godson, who is also a guild man for the same tribal line. So you see what's happening here. Second, the work that CDC have done in Nimba County. Let's look at the development that President Weah has done in Nimba County. Most of the people are now saying, just like they said in Lofa County, we are now going to put development over our culture. The road to Saclapie, to Ganta, the roads all over the place. In fact, in 200 years, one of the best city halls of all time is being built in Gompa City. And the president is going there, I think, next week, and you're going to see. And we are looking at the chiefs in that county. They got together and said, this man has been impersonating the savior of this county. During the war, where was he? He was in Caldwell. And those of us that fought for this county and stood for this county, not once has he ever given us the credit that we fought for
in Caldwell during the war, but they listened to him in 3 separate elections.
But that if you saw, every time you saw the election in Nimba County, the number has been decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. And now you are seeing that the numbers are now even going to be fractured when you have Gonglo. Don't forget that Liberty, like you say, is spending a lot of money, doing a lot of development. He's going to be elected in that district. He has, if the election is tight, very close, and like Mr. Morris said, he controls between 6 and 8% of the population. 6 percentage points in an election is huge. So if someone like Calasco, DeMero, who is also from that ethnic group, from Lofa and Nimba, partner with Bility, I see no reason, no possibility of Bility endorsing Joseph Boakai in the second round. And wherever Bility goes, CPP goes. I cannot see under no circumstance where Musa Bility endorse Joseph Boakai.
Mr. CA, if you may allow me, I want to make a clarification quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
Yes. To my Welly, I would say this. When I was talking about Prince Johnson being a double-edged sword, I was talking about national politics, not the politics in Nimba. Because like I said, Prince Johnson is beloved in Nimba, but may not be beloved in a certain region of the country. That's the point I was making. So if he's going for Boakai, even though a lot of people from, like, let's say the Southeast is already going for Weah, but those who may have even considered Boakai, but because of Prince Johnson's closeness to the ticket, would definitely vote against Boakai. So he's bringing vote, but at the same time, he's taking away votes because people have such a visceral reaction to him. But lastly, let me say this. Take Gompa City, for example. You have a man there by the name of Sam Brown. I know Sam Brown's wife. My wife is friendly with his wife. He was somebody who was fixing the road with his yellow machine. The people in Gompa City love Sam Brown. He's a dime man. Prince Johnson, because he knows, and people have been telling him this about this divide between the Ma and the Dom people when it comes to the politics in the county. He himself said on the radio, he said, a lot of my Mano brothers has been coming to me saying that the Gia people always getting elected. I'm always supporting Gia people. So since I've heard them, I'm going to support. I forgot the doctor name that he supported. I think it was a professor or a doctor, from the University of Liberia. I forgot his name, but he's a Mano man. He said, I'm going to support this doctor against my own cousin, Sam Brown. And what happened in that election? Sam Brown won the election against Prince Johnson endorsement. So again, it's not a something that's writing in stone that whoever Prince Johnson support wins election. people now in Nimba County, as they should, because these are some of the smartest people we have in our country. They're not voting based on Prince Johnson, you know, raising somebody's hand up anymore. They feel like they've paid him enough for what he did, what they perceive him to have done. So his influence is definitely waning within the county. So that's just a synopsis of his waning influence. That Sam Brown election that defeated Prince Johnson candidate.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Alice, any final thoughts?
Well, as I said before, Prince Johnson, take for instance, in the Southeast, you were talking about other counties. Prince Johnson did not really have a negative impact in the Southeast during the war. All right. Prince Johnson was in Caldwell because he wanted to protect Monrovia against President Taylor advising to the executive mansion. That's why you were in Caldwell.
Sorry to interrupt. Prince Johnson was also in Nukuta. He killed a lot of cool people and Gribble people simply because their name was Dole and they came from the Southeast. He killed a lot of cool people in Nukuta. People will tell you on the football field he killed a lot of them. So he's not beloved in the Southeast, Mr.
No, I'm not saying he's beloved there. I say he didn't have a negative impact in the Southeast. I mean, I'm not talking about Monrovia.
What is negative impact for you if what Maurice is saying, and I believe there's a lot of
but this is Montserrado. I'm talking about people in the county. It's two different things.
If he killed, right, sons and daughter of Grand Crew, for example, you think the people of Grand Crew were not, because Prince Johnson killing that he did, those were things people heard about, well documented. So I didn't live in Negrutan at the time, but when I moved to Monrovia, my family members told me, sons and daughters from Grand Crew that he killed. So I don't think I will have love for such a man, even though I was not there. I was in Grand Crew when it happened.
Right. So what I'm telling you is there are other people might be in Grand Crew that do not know what he did in Monrovia. So
and he continues to disparage the southeastern region. He disparaged the southeastern people.
Give me a break. People make decisions based on their environment. So it's somebody who has been in the South in the entire war may not know what Prince Johnson did in Monrovia or did in Caldwell. And Prince Johnson, most of the killing that he did, he had justification for some of them.
Are you saying that?
Hold on 1 second. Wow. I said he had justification for some of the killing he did. Okay, for example, he said that he didn't like people that stole stuff. He didn't want people to take money to Caldwell from the IGNU controlled territory. So those were things that you were, engaged in, justifying some of his actions.
All right.
But the basic thing I'm trying to say is if people were in a leeward counties that were not close to, we know what he did. And they were not judged based on that because they don't know. So you can't say he might not be popular in the counties because not everybody knows Prince Johnson in the county. He might be popular around Monrovia. But what he did in Monrovia did not have a significant impact in some of the counties because he didn't reach there.
All right.
It's reflective of his numbers that he got during the past election when he ran for presidency. It's reflective of that. And also, Prince Johnson is always disparaging people from the Southeast. He disparaged the Bassa people. He said they're not loyal people. When he was talking about Yombli Kanga, he said the Southeast has no development. They're rogues, they're thieves, they don't know how to govern. They should never have government. They should never have the power to become president again.
Yeah,
so Prince Johnson disparaged the Southeast.
Power is not good.
Power is not good
from the Southeast.
From the Southeast, yeah.
From the Southeast, and that's why he said.
I listen to that.
You put the entire Southeast in a bucket. That's
one of them up. Right. I listen to that.
All right, thank you. Let's continue with the debate. Folks, if you are just joining us, this is Friday night debate here. Focus on Liberia. Anthony is here hosting. As you can see, the debate is juicy. Let's come to Monrovia. The hat, somebody would say, of politics in Liberia. Darius DeLon, he's on Boakai's side. He defeated the CDC 2 times in Montserrado County. He floored Politawier. He floored the giant of CDC Thomas Fala, the political ATM. He was devouring money. They don't come and snatching. But we must say though, they don't work with the CPP that does not exist in a full capacity in terms of numbers and membership, right? So that is a decline there. But yet, he's there. He has a voice. He has a own followers. In Moravia also, the legislative staffers endorsed Joseph Boakai. We heard about University of Liberia lecturers. They endorsed Boakai. Now, on the coming side, we have a known political actor, Louis Gessede Brown. He endorsed Cummings. We have Daniel Che, even though he was talking something the other times, suggesting that he want to go back to the CDC. He had endorsed Cummings. And, you know, we have, what's the woman? Cassell, the one who was general
Duncan
minister.
Cassell, right?
Yeah, Duncan Cassell. She had endorsed Cummings and she on the Cummings team. And so many names that I can't remember now. So Cummings has some endorsements of political names in Montserrado County, just as Boakai. President Weah has been getting endorsement, people leaving their parties, going to the CDC. We know, I mean, they just want piece of the pie. It's always that way. And once that pie goes away, they disappear. But howbeit, those are endorsements. How will Montserrado County play out, knowing the fact that CDC has been declining, cannot claim Montserrado County to be a stronghold anymore? It's like nobody land. And when you look at the Unity Party has not been that strong anymore in Montserrado County as well. This is the final segment of the debate. So we'll start with you, Jerome. You from the Republican camp. Put on your conservative hat here. Let's analyze the variables. How you think you're going to play out? We are again?
Well, I would like to quote my good old friend, Mr. Michael Patmore.
Okay.
Mr. Patmore said, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what we do, there is one thing that is constant in Liberia. 30% of the population love President Weah. No matter what we do, we cannot peel that 31 or that 30, 32, 36% away from President Weah. So President Weah is going into the race 30% of the way there already, no matter what we do. They agree to that. To be able to defeat President Weah in Montserrado, you have to have the collaboration between all the political parties like they did during the early days when the CPP was CPP. Mm-hmm. And somebody said the downfall of the CPP is that they did not know how to handle success. Once Dara Dillon won, now everybody felt that they could win. And now everybody wanted to be their own man or own woman. If you ran that election today, as divided as the opposition is, Dara Dillon is going to lose. Secondly, let's look at this voter registration. I'm going back to voter registration because I want you to keep this tape. When the election is over, you will go back to this and say, I'm a genius, even though I'm not. But during the voter registration in the first 6 counties, Cape Mount, Bomi, Montserrado, Magibi, Grand Bassa, and Riverside. I think in that order. In the Montserrado area, Bomi. In that area, Bapolo, in that order, the CPP filed a lawsuit to the Supreme Court of Prohibition about the voter registration, the census, and they wanted the entire registration process to stop because the census was chaotic and all of that. And in that process, while they were waiting for the ruling of the Supreme Court, they did absolutely nothing. They thought that the Supreme Court was going to side with them. In the meantime, you saw the CDC in every stronghold having rallies, doing voter registration, voter education. You saw Ruth Davis, you saw everybody in all the districts. After the voter registration was almost at an end, the Supreme Court ruled against the CPP. At the time, it was late for them to do any voter registration, voter education, none of that stuff. It was when Musa Billiton stood up and said, we lost the chance in Montserrado and Magibi, I suggest that you come over to Nimba County and register. At least you can participate in the presidential vote. So I'm saying this to say that was in tennis, we call it unforced error. These are folks who should have done something, done real harm to CDC in Montserrado County, but did absolutely nothing with it. They didn't take part in the voter registration, voter education. They did nothing, to the point where Yeke himself said it on the phone. He said, I know I'm not coming back. So all I need is my gas slip and everything else they owe me. This is their own internal polling, because they were depending on the rule of the Supreme Court to their own detriment. So I'm saying this to say, it doesn't matter who comes out now. What will matter at the end are those who register on the ground.
Mr. Gamer, what I'm hearing from you is that the voters who, in your opinion, have been prepared to vote for any of the opposition candidates, they now register. Only CDC register, or CDC voters register in Montserrado. So it's a done deal. That's what I'm hearing from you.
No. What I'm saying is, in this country, and as a Republican, I'm telling you, what we usually depend on when election is happening, we look at momentum. Which party has the momentum? Who, like when you look at Georgia the last time, even though the Democrat won against all odds, you saw how close it was. The small group of Republicans that are in that were committed, they slept in line. They were committed to voting, and they almost pulled it over Herschel Walker, who had no reason. That man should not even come close to with a percentage point of winning a senatorial race in Georgia, but he did. So what I'm saying here is, not that it's a done deal, but in this country, we do something called voter suppression. By encouraging.
Are you suggesting CDC going to suppress the vote?
No, what they did, that's what we call the unforced error.
Okay.
Because they were not proactive in bringing out their team, the momentum to vote.
So you think there are fewer opposition voters who register compared to CDC voters in Montserrado County, so that is a net plus for CDC.
That's correct. Let's look at district number 10 per se. Because we are determined to get Yeke Koluba out of there. You saw
you want him that much, huh?
You can see it was a non-stop, every day voter education, voter registration, voter enthusiasm, knocking on door to door, to the point where Yeke Koluba said, you are not allowed in our district anymore. But this is election time. This is democracy. We have the right to go to your home base and knock on door like you have the right to come to our home base. You can't tell us because I didn't go to CDC stronghold, so you can't come to my stronghold. That's not democracy work. But that tells you the momentum and the zeal on our side. So I'm saying we did a lot of good for ourselves than the CDC than the CPP did for themselves.
Well, during the registration process, I know the opposition community, their leaders were like, well, we're not sure this is going far enough. Maybe they should pull hard to this. Do you think the voters were listening to that? And so a good number of them may not have registered, as Mr. Gamer is trying to narrate here. Is that the case? And if anything is true of what he's saying, is that enough to give CDC a net plus against the opposition candidates?
Well, I don't believe that. First of all, the voters might have
maybe
heard
it's a CDC talking point.
Yeah, he always want to make CDC to look like they can win any minute. Mm-hmm. Okay, but what happened is that they are targeting certain people. So, like he said, Yeke, they want to get rid of Yeke, so they will pump people in the community to register. But then they are not paying attention to other areas. All right. So you don't know, there were opposition members are also making gains. So as it stands right now, the opposition might have been taking issue with the registration and the voting, the voter education and everything, but that did not make any of the voters to wait and see, because everything was going by time. All right. the government is in control of everything. And so if the deadlines are given, you better follow through. Even though the leaders are raising contention, but it doesn't stop the members or the voters from registering and doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't believe that people, decided to sit and wait to see what's going to be the outcome. I think everybody registered like they were supposed to do, but the only thing is he thinks that because they were focusing certain areas, people that they want to get rid of, like Yeke Koluba and people like Yeke, maybe that's why he thinks that how everything went around Morovia. But I don't think so. Maybe just specific areas.
Morris, in my judgment, I think at the end of the day, it will come down to who the people trust, who the people believe, and how do they feel, especially when you look at their living condition in Montserrado County. People are hungry. If they trust somebody in the opposition, they might let to go with the person. If they don't trust the CDC, they must say no to the CDC because they are suffering. The CDC is in charge. How you think it's going to play out? What will be the determining factor? I don't think it's going to be these endorsements that we're hearing, isn't it?
Right, right. And Mr. Gavin, my own big brother, but I have to respectfully disagree with you when it comes to the momentum. I think definitely the momentum is with the opposition, particularly with Joseph Boakai in this present moment. But looking at Montserrado County, I think this will be the most critical, let's say the most consequential referendum on President Weah's, bid to become reelected. And the reason is, in the county of Montserrado, you have the most aware or the most educated people who are politically aware of what's going on in the country, who can understand the nuances of the economy and what's holding them back and different things within our country. And I will put on my CDC hat for a second, or my President George Weah supporter hat for a second. I will give it to the president that has been some external situation that influence or negatively influence our economy, such as COVID and after that the war in Ukraine. Even we in this country, we know things are not looking so great for us here economically. But because we're in such a great country, every year a person may get a raise to match with the inflation rate, that's going on in the country. So sometimes our own government do things to kind of pacify the economic, downturn that we're seeing. Not like so in Liberia. So my point is, I'm not too worried about Montserrado County, and the reason is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And the reason I say that is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf lost Montserrado County twice when George Weah ran against her, both as a president and vice president, but she still won the election. The key is the margin. I think Weah lost to her in 2005. She lost to Weah by I think a couple of percentage points. So it's not like the United States where winner take all. So you can lose a large county to Montserrado where the margin is so slim, maybe by 100,000 vote or 75,000 vote, and you can do well in other areas, like the president can do well in the southeast, do well in places like Margibi, and still win the re-election. So not winning Montserrado is not doomed for the president, but I think it will be very consequential based on the people who are informed, are very politically active in Montserrado, knows what's going on, and the opposition can influence them a lot more with propaganda. So I think Montserrado will be a tough sell for the president, but I have hope that even if he loses Montserrado, just based on the history with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, losing Montserrado twice, but still winning the presidency is a possibility for President Weah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Finally, let's look at Bong County. Joy Howard Taylor is still on the ticket. She helped President Weah big time in 2017. She won, her election. She won election in Bong County, 2 times. I know sometimes she was crying baby. They were not giving her money. She had flat tire and all that. But now she's on board. She's excited. Her budget has gone up to 2.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. She's energized. She's talking to her people in Bong County. Bong County is a vote-rich county.
She said 4 millions.
Yeah. Huh?
She said around 4 millions.
All right. You see, I just want to be a conservative. Yeah, that number that I said, maybe. So, how will Bong County play out? Bong County is a big country. I know Prince Moy. I understand he's now What side he's on? Is it Boakai side now, or he's still with it? Was it the CDC?
No, Princess with Boakai with
Yeah,
JFK.
Princess with Boakai. I seen at some point Boakai was even trying to talk to him to see, as to whether he could pick him. So Boakai has somebody that we are, enjoy our Taylor. They have cemented their relationship. I see Mr. Gaiman smiling there. How is Bong County is going to play out? Is the Joy Howard endorsement going to make a difference from we are this time or not at all? Because the people in Bong, I understand they are not happy, especially with Joel. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first, and I'll make it
Okay.
quick and
Mhm.
short.
Yeah, please be brief.
One of my biggest surprise this whole election cycle has been Joy Howard Taylor. I was never a big fan of her or her former husband, but she's an effective campaigner. She's quite forceful in the way that she campaigns and the way she talks. When she was talking against those rescue one and rescue two, I think that was really effective. So I think her campaign style is going to resonate with the people of Bong County. And one of the things in Bong County, like Lo-Fi County, is also a very traditional county. And Joy Howard Taylor has a chieftaincy that is really important in Bong County. She's the Dakmana of the of the Peda people, so to speak. So she has that title. I don't know if she inherited from her former husband or she earned it, but she has that title, and that's a very important title within a traditional society within that county. So I think again, Bong County, even if President Weah loses Bong County, if the margin is close, he has leeway in other places that he can make it up. So Bong County will be another toss up. But I think with the second round, we tend to forget people don't know that they have to vote twice in elections. Most people vote once, and they think that's it. They're voting for the president. And when it goes to the second round, most people sometimes forget to vote, or they don't even know that they're supposed to vote for the second round. And I think that's where logistics, who has the money, who has the resources, comes into place. In this case, you have to give it to the government because they can go first round and still have plenty of cash left over to mobilize for the second round. That's where somebody like Boyka, who says he's broke, going with Kuhn, who has some money but nothing to the level of the incumbent, government, it's going to be a challenge for them. Unless you see a lot of people come back, and somebody like Cummings putting his weight behind Boyka in the second round, which is probably unlikely. It's going to be tough for them to mobilize in that second round, especially in the leeward counties. And that's where President Weah would do well, especially with the resources he has at his disposal. I'll leave it there.
And Alice talking about the same Bong County, Nathaniel Mange, has been working Bong County. He has been giving scholarship in there in the tune of millions. He appeared with Joy Howard Taylor at one point there, and he's always there, campaigning strategically for President Weah and the young people. Because what he did was he started paying school fees for high school students. He has been doing that now for about 2 years now. So this is a man that has planted something, hoping that it will germinate politically and pay a dividend at the ballot. That might make a difference for them. Whereas Boakai is relying on the tradition. Well, the Bong people or the Pella people, I think they said they are cousin or nieces or uncle to the people in Lofa. That's why Boakai is betting on and Prince Moin to be the messenger there. Is that enough? Or the people of the Bong will not be feeling the love so much from Joel because nothing has been delivered, to my understanding.
Well, first of all, I want to point out that 2023 is different from 2017.
Okay.
2017, you have a whole lot of factors playing. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that was radically endorsing President Weah or Kennedy Weah at the time. And at that time, she was the incumbent. She had people that believed in her and that were willing to follow her wherever she laid her hand or her, whatever direction she was going, including, some Unity Party people. So those group of people are not the same today. Remember, at that time, she was not on board with the VP. It was glaring everywhere. So those group of people, you're going to manage them from the ruling party. Then considering the kind of hardship that people are complaining about, like you rightly said, the people of Bong County, nothing, all the gravy is not coming down, it's not reaching down to the people. And so they might have their own, dissatisfaction. So you're going to be menacing people that are not happy. And so Joy Howard might not deliver the same way she delivered in 2017. And people were excited at that time. President Weah was very popular. He could be popular today, but he was more popular. Everybody was new coming to the scene. So now that, almost like you got a new wife and you are so excited, and after 2 years, you're looking elsewhere. This is the, situation that.
Are you accusing with the man of doing that? Are you accusing with the man of doing that?
We are looking elsewhere.
Yeah, because you have a wife, new wife, they bring her to marry, and all the dowry is paid. You are excited, but the excitement is not going to be, for some people, it's not going to, be very, very long. So it's the same thing here. President Weah was popular. Everybody was excited to have this new person. I remember somebody, I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Oh," so I said, "Well, now you're selling President Weah, but then it's not going to be long again." It was the same people that said he was not educated, he was this and that in 2005, and now is everything good again. So it's not going to be long. You will be changing. So this is where we are today. So it's not going to be the same demographic of people that were in love with this president or in love with the vice president. It's not going to be the same. So,
Mr. Goodman, Mange is your friend. I explained how he has invested politically in Bong County. He planted a seed for President Weah, hoping that it germinate and bring out the dividend in this year. Is that going to make a difference, because the Joel thing might not be enough here?
Well, when we are talking politics, I know you say I'm partisan, but we are talking about strategy here.
Mm-hmm.
When in 2019, McGill and the stalwarts of the CDC, they got together and say, listen, after what we saw in Montserrado, we have to grow our base outside of Montserrado. That's why you saw that 3-year investment in Magibi, in Grand Bassa, in Bong County, and Lofa heavily. And you saw this thing that they call free wires, the wire fee that was waived. That these children, this gone Friday, you could see at the CDC headquarters, you could see at the Bassa High School in Grand Bassa County, Sando High School, all of those areas, you saw tens of thousands of young folks coming out in their numbers, thanking the president for what he has done, the YS fee, and the free college enrollment. Those are new demographics that McGill and the CDC invested in, that we cancel out all of the crossovers and all of that. When you look at the CDC headquarters yesterday and saw young folks thanking the president, that is what you remember when McGill was sanctioned, people said he was done. When you went to Magibi, you saw what happened. He's going to be the senator for Magibi County. You saw the investment that he's done there. Those seeds have germinated. When you look at Bill Twelve, what he did in Riverside County, he's going to be the senator of the Riverside County there, as you can see. So we are looking at Bong County here. The vice president is not only a senator that was elected twice, but the NPFL and the NPP, that is Bong County right there. You cannot separate Joel Howard Taylor and the MPP. MPP is Bong County. Go up and come down, you are going to have an uphill battle. The NPP, Joel Howard Taylor, and CDC, Bong County, like Mr. Morris was saying, we won the last election 14-1. We don't need 14-1 anymore to win. If President Weah get 10 out of 15 counties, he wins. He is not going to have 14 out of 15 like before. It's not going to happen. We know that, like he's saying. So President Weah is going to win. If he win back, all he needs is 50 plus 1. He doesn't need all 15 counties. So if we 40 across the board in every county, he wins. And no candidate in this race can boast that he or she.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what happened?
No, you stay here. You're talking. You can see you. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying here, no candidate in this race can boast that they can put out the kind of number that the president is going to put out in this coming race. And either way, the president win. We may not win 14 counties, but we will win 10 to 11 counties, and that will be enough.
Thank you very much. On that note, we will take a short break, and we will be right back for the closing. All right, folks, we are back with you, and you have been watching Friday Night Debate here at Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony C. hosting. Thank you for staying with us throughout the debate. We are almost at the closing, but we appear that you stick around for the closing. For the closing, we have talked about a few of the endorsements so far. There is one big one. That one will come from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. More than likely, she will wait until the second round, and she will make that endorsement. Depending on the two person who will make it to the second round, how will it play out? Should she even endorse somebody? You will hear from the panelists, and how they will play it out. We will be right back for their closing.
Our country, sweet Mandela, our country, that God gave us this country. That God gave us this country. We are going on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia, God gave us this country.
Indeed, Liberians, if you did not hear that well, God gave us this country. The Americans have developed theirs. The Arabs have done the same. We are eager to go there. We have a responsibility. Just imagine if we can turn that little country to paradise, where there are jobs. Will we even think about coming here? Wouldn't we be very respected in our homes? I will be eating my palm butter and drinking my palm wine. And I don't have to worry about huge mortgage and all that. Think about that. We have a responsibility. This election year, you have a responsibility to tell the truth and vote right. Well, for the closing, the biggest endorsement of all some people believe will be coming from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, whether it will even come or should it come. Let's hear from the man Evan Morris. Should Ellen have a role in this election with an endorsement? If she brings it, she should come in the first round, or she should wait for the second round. And what difference will it make? Your take.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. C. Quickly, let me say this before I even make my pronouncement on whether or not she should. I think there was a secret deal that was made between Ellen Johnson and George Weah. after the two successive on successive time, President Weah ran for the presidency, and most people felt he was cheated. They had a meeting in Abuja with former head of state Olusegun Obasanjo, along with some delegates from Ellen, and they told President Weah that he would have his chance to become president, but the country was fragile and they needed somebody with a steady hand to hold the country. So I think the deal is that Ellen Johnson should let George Weah get his 2 terms and not interfere. And that's one of the reasons why I think she can't support Joseph Boyka, because that would be going against that very deal that they made to appease President Weah. But outside of that, let me say this. Every former president has a role to play in electoral politics. In the United States, for example, you don't see a Republican president like George W. Bush playing an active role, because the Republican nominee is somebody that he doesn't like, so he doesn't endorse that person. But on the Democratic side, you see somebody like Obama, who supports Joe Biden, and previously he supported Hillary Clinton. So definitely, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf should have a part to play and should endorse a candidate. But I don't think she will endorse a candidate for the reason that I stated earlier. But when it comes to these elections, I would say this: I'm a Weah supporter, and there might be a time for a change for President Weah. Perhaps he's just not up to the task. Perhaps the people around him are continuously failing him, and they're not doing the job that he put them there to do. So there might be a time for a change. But I wholeheartedly believe it cannot be Joseph Boyka. It can be Joseph Boyka. If it's Alice Cummings, if it's Tawan Gonglo, I will concede President Weah's second term for somebody like a Cummings or a Gonglo, but not for Joseph Boyka. And the reason is people we forget so quickly. We couldn't wait to get the Unity Party people out of there because corruption was rampant. It wasn't like corruption wasn't terrible under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. It was bad. Nepotism was also rampant within that government. So when we look at George Weah and we think he's the worst that ever happened, we just got to go back 6 years ago and see what was going on during Ellen. And these are the same recycled people, not necessarily just Joseph Boyka, but the people who are going to be his lieutenants are the same people that was there with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, stealing from the country and being a vampire of corruption that was sucking the blood out of our country. That's why under no circumstances cannot support Joseph Boyka. If it's not President Weah, it's not the end of the world. Let's get somebody else, but it can be Joseph Boyka because he's recycling those same people who stole from the country. Even if you see Weah is doing theirs, fine. There's some corrupt people within the government. Kick Weah out, but also in the same breath, kick Joseph Boyka and the Unity Party out. Let's bring somebody new, fresh blood, maybe Cummings or Gonglo, but not Joseph Boyka again. Thank you for having me on the show. That would be my parting statement.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Morris. Mr. Smamba, you're closing.
Well, I think it will be a good thing if the former president does not endorse anybody. Just leave it as it is. Let the Liberian people make their own judgment. Because for the first time, she did not support, somebody who was an immediate uh, lieutenant, and so doing the same thing again will not, do well for the Liberian people. So I think she should leave it with the Liberian people to make the decision. Um, I would think Liberian people should disregard who is popular, who's not popular. I know people vote on party sentiment, instead of the individual person that's running. So you never know what their platforms are, or the political parties. It's hard to know the platform that they are running on. Everything seems to be, the same. But I would think that they should, look at Liberia and choose whoever they think is capable of bringing the country to a higher height for the common man in Liberia, everybody, and not only at the top, from the bottom up. Everybody should have something. Middle class should be developed so that everybody will have a share of what belongs to them. So for my closing statement, we are not only praying, like brand people, it's not only praying, but it's opening your eyes for God to guide you so that you make the right decision. And I just think that miracles will happen all the time. So Gunkler, I think, he's the right person. But if he can't make that, if he can't get majority of the people, then they can make whatever choice they want to make. But I think they got good people in the race that they can choose from. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Morris, and also Mr. Gibbon, who left. At the end of the day, the people have to decide. And it's their choice to decide their fate. They are the one wearing the shoes, and they know how painful those shoes are on their feet. There are things they must look at. Will they look at those things? We know one thing. They listen to the messages. And some decide on the basis of the messages. They look at the individuals who are running. Some will vote because they hear the name quite too often, like Boakai, as it was in the case of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Weir. They were popular. That was the most important thing they heard. They knew their name. As was in the case with Charles Taylor. He had the biggest gun. He was Gange. Who dared not, vote for the man Gange? So he became president. Ellen became president. Weir became president because of popularity to the greater extent. Would that be the case this time? If that would be the case, who is more popular now? Is it Boakai? Is it the same Weir? Gonglo comes to mind. He has a broom. Is that broom making sense? Will it be the message that will be the determining factor this time? Or will it be the usual popularity context that will decide this time? Will it be the harsh economic realities that they are facing? And if that would be the determining factor, will it go against the ruling party, the CDC, President Weir? I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what would be the thing that will make them to decide who to go with. Cumming comes to mind. He has a message. Can't be doing the same thing over and over. Are the Liberian people tired of people doing the same thing over and over? And so does he have the right message, or Gonglo has the right message? Well, Frank Johnson has always delivered, and he's on the Boakai side. Does Boakai guess the last life this time? I mean, how can I know? But I cannot know the pattern, the history. So we'll see. For the people will decide when they do. I know one thing. I will be here. Liberia will be here. Liberia will be here and maybe in the same difficult place. Unfortunately, that is the inconvenient truth we have to face. That is why I put the responsibility on the lives of the people. They have the power to change their life with their vote. If they sell it, they will be hungry for another 6 years. I will not be happy, but they must take responsibility for their lives. My job is to provide a platform for us to decide what to do and reason together. We have done our part. It is their part to give us a future. Will they give us the future, or will they want us to retrogress? I'm tired of being in the wilderness of poverty. I want to go to the promised land of prosperity and development and opportunities. I ran from my country, Liberia, to be here because of that. I don't want to preach anymore. I have to go. The song says we are all Liberians. That song is taking us home. Until I catch you again, this time on another hour of politics. My name is Anthony C. saying to you, bye-bye. I love you all, but the Almighty Comrade Jesus love you best. Enjoy your evening.
We are